Sanjeev.
We learned about
Chesanji from feature survey, pros and cons.
so we have completed the exception handling, and we have also saw the setup of TestNG, how to add the TestNG, how to install TestNG plugin into your FLabs, and then adding the TestNG library to here, verifying whether TestNG is installed or not, and then we have understood the features of TestNG. Why do we use TestNG? What are the advantages and disadvantages of TestNG? Okay, what is the TestNG library? All those things we have seen. Now let us see writing test cases or writing status wise automation using TestNG. Okay, so the first thing that we have to know is understand the behavior of the annotations. So let us write a small class to understand the execution behavior of TestNG classes. Okay, so for that I'm going to create a new package, and my it has TestNG. Create a new class. So you can create a normal class and then convert it to TestNG, or you can directly create a new TestNG class. You can see the TestNG option available also here. You see here. See this create TestNG class. You can create a normal class and convert it to TestNG, or you can directly create a TestNG class. Okay. So I'll show you creating a normal class and converting it to TestNG now. I don't need a main method. So I'll say C underscore annotations. Since we already discussed, TestNG doesn't have main method. It will execute based on the annotations, right? It will execute based on the annotations. So let us create a few methods. TestNG doesn't have anything extra except the annotations. Now for us, for suppose, I'm going to write a method like public void job. Okay, so this is my method. I'll write CISO. This is login method. Now, but for TestNG to understand this and to execute this method, I have to add annotation to this particular method. To add annotation to this method, we'll just add @ and then next. Now, since the package or TestNG library is not imported, we have added to the project, but we are not saying that I'm going to use this library inside in this class. Right? You remember, right? We have added so many imports earlier. So similarly, now we have to import this. Import TestNG org.testng.annotations. If I just import this, that's all. Now you see this became a TestNG class. Now, do we have a main method inside this? No, right? No. But if I run this, it will run successfully, and you will see this message in the console. You see, one test case executed. Again, let us see the console. You see, this is login method. This is the console statement that we wrote, and you see the status is also being printed here. Passed, because there is no exception, right? There is no exception. There is no failure. So this is the status assigned to this login method, and you can see test level results, suit level results. Inside the suit, there is only one test, one passed. Inside the test, there is only one test, one passed. There are no failures or no skips. This is a general or normal report or status assignments that we'll see in the test-ng when you execute a test-ng class. All right. Now let's go back. Let us see all the other annotations and their execution orders. Okay, so this is a test order. This means this is a test case. When you add at the rate of test annotation to any method, that becomes a test case. But as per our discussion, we have precondition and post-condition methods as well, right? So let us write a few of them. Let us write a method. Public void before suit. You can have any method name here. This is my naming convention. I'm using this just to make it easy to understand for you in the initial. Okay, I want to. This is we can do it like this, or I don't want to write these methods manually and then add annotations. Then you can simply, what is this? Test right click, test.ng, convert to test.ng. See, it is going to, no, I don't want to create the XML file. Next. I'll do one thing. It's not showing us the annotation. Something might have changed. So the other class directly creation from test.ng is where you can have options to select the annotations you want to write. Okay, so I'm directly creating a test.ng class. You see here the annotations available here. So if I select these annotations, I don't have to write the methods. It will automatically give me the template. I just have to implement those methods. Okay, so let me inside this new test, I'll say okay. I want all these annotations: before method, before class, before test, before suit, after method, after class, after test, after suit. Data provider we'll see a little later. Okay. Now you see it created all the methods for me. I can write, I have to write the implementations inside these methods. That's all. Now, this is a test case method. So I'll say something login. Already we have written this, right? So I'll just copy this. That is my login method. Now, similarly, I'll write system statements in each of the out. Okay. Just for your understanding, I'm writing a single SISO statement. Based on the need, we'll use these annotations and suit methods. Okay. As after class. This is test after test. You have methods here before suit and then after suit. Okay. See, I have written all the SISO statements inside these methods. Now, if we execute, if you remember the execution order will be execution order will be suit. Inside a suit we have test. Inside the test we have class, and inside the class we have methods. So this is the XML file order, right? If you remember, we discussed this earlier. This is the execution. This is the XML order. So what is the top level node here? It is suit. So first, it will start the suit. Okay, let us assume that this suit started here, test started here, class started here, and methods. Then class ends. Okay, and then test ends, and then suit ends. So similarly, when you say before suit, before entering into this tag, it will execute the before suit method. Before entering, after entering it, and then before entering into the test method, test tag, it will execute before test. Before entering into each of the class, now we are having only one class, but if you have multiple classes, before entering into a class, this before class method will be executed. And methods, these are the methods at the rate of test, or the test cases, or instead of methods, okay. Inside a class we have at the rate of test cases. So before method and after method will be executed before at the rate of test and after at the rate of test. Okay, and then after class, after test, after. This will be the execution hierarchy, or this will be the execution order. Let us see that. Now let me run this and let us observe the console. All right. Now let us see the console. There are no failures, only one test case. See, though we have written these many methods, this is considering only one test case. What is the test case? Login. This is the method name. This is our method, right? Login. Login method. Now let us see the execution statements. You see, this is before suit, before test, before class, before method, and then login method. Then after method, after class, after test, after suit. You see it? So that will be the execution order. Based on the need, if you have any requisites, if you want to do any data setup or cleanup activities or anything, based on the need or based on the way you want to use, you can use these annotations and write your test case methods. Understood? Is that clear, Yanji?
Yes, Nikhil.
So this is how the annotations work, and this is how the TestNG works. Okay. So here inside this at the rate of test method, we will write our code, like entering username, entering password, clicking on login button, and if you need some verifications, you will also add the verifications inside this. All the below methods, before method, after method, before class, after class, before suit, after suit, all these methods are preconditions and post conditions. If you see at the rate of before anything, then that is a precondition. And if you see anything after, at the rate of after, that is a post condition. Okay. All right. So here, there is one more thing that we have to know. Okay. Let me take this. Yes. Okay. So we have seen the XML, XML sample. So we have suit, we have test, we have class, and then we have at the rate of test method. So one at the rate of test, there is one. Then in the same class, I might have two at the rate of tests. Okay, at the rate of test, two, and then I'll close the class. Then I'll close the test, and then I'll close the suit. Now, if I have multiple at the rate of tests, what should be the execution order? Can Can you tell me what should be the execution order? Come on.
Test one first, and after that, everything before and after, and again test two, might be.
No. The execution order will be before suit, before test, before class. That will be same. Okay. After entering into the class, we have two at the rate of test methods, right? So in for these two at the rate of test methods, we have before method and after method. So for each of these tests, this before method will be executed. Okay, for each of the tests, because at the rate of before method is used to execute this one. Each at the rate of test method will have execution of before method. Before entering into this at the rate of test, before method will be executed. And after completion of this at the rate of test, it will execute this after method. Okay, so this is the order: before method, and then test, at the rate of test annotation method, that is our test case, and then after method. But now we have two at the rate of test. So will it be like this? Before method, at the rate of test 1, and then at the rate of test 2, and then after method. Will it be like this? Or before method, test 1, after method, and then again before method, test 2, and after method. Which one is correct? This one or this one?
I think second one, no?
This one?
No, another one.
This one. Yeah. So this is the correct one, because this at the rate of before method annotation means it executes before each at the rate of test, right? So if we have two at the rate of test methods, then before starting each of this method, it will execute this before method and after method. Understand? Now let us write some program and then see. Okay. See, I'm going to write the test case. Same at the rate of test annotation. I can have this login name and say logins or login using something, some other method. Okay, this is login method, login using thread method. Okay, now let us run this and see what is the execution order. All right, now let's go back. You see the execution order: before suit is common, before test is common, before class is common. But just before login method, you have this is before method, and then after login, you have this is after method. And again, you have login using thread method, but before that, you have again a before method. And then after the test, you have after method. Then the closing activities: after class, after test, after suit. So there are two methods: login and login using thread. There are no exception raised out of these two methods. So these are by default considered as passed. Understood? Is that clear? Fine. So you see, this is another feature, or this is another console tab that you will get when you have TestNG added to your library and execute some TestNG classes. This is the TestNG console where you can see the execution order: suit, test, and this is the class. Annotation execution is our class, right? Annotation execution class, and then there are two test cases inside it. If anything is failed here, you will see under failed test. And if you want to see the summary, you will see it here. How many are there? Default, we did not create any XML, right? We did not assign any name to the test. So that is why it is default test. There is one class and there are two methods. And the execution time is 0.02 seconds. Okay. You can also see the status here. Passed 2, failed 0, skipped 0. Okay. All right. So this is our default console or normal console where you can see the test status, and this is a TestNG console where you can see the statuses of TestNG executions. Okay. Then now let us see the reports which are generated by TestNG. Now, do you see any extra folders that are added to this project? No, right? But I told you by default, TestNG will give us some HTML report as well as the emailable report. Where are they? Since this is created by the project and it is added to the project, you have to refresh this once to see the latest files. Now we see there is an extra folder called test output. You have to refresh this so that you will see the latest reports inside this test output. Now, if I open this, you will see so many files here, but our interest is to look at index.html. This is the HTML report which is being generated by TestNG, and another one is emailable report.html. This is the another report which we can use for sending emails to the team. Okay. Now let us see one by one how do they look. Let me open this index.html. So this is the HTML report. This is how it looks like. You can open it in the Eclipse, or also you can open it in the browser. I'll just open it here. Okay. So did we create any XML file? No, right? Yeah. We didn't create any XML file. But if you see the info, the default suite, there is some XML file from the app data local and temp. Did we create the XML file under these folders? No, right? Did we create this? We did not create. But since TestNG needs an XML file for its execution, if you don't have any XML file that is created and if you want to run individual classes, TestNG creates a temporary XML file by its own. Okay, so this is a temporary XML file that TestNG created on its own. You see here, suite, test, classes, and inside the classes you have our class name and then test again suite. Okay, so this is the test name, default test, and this is the suite name, default suite. That is what you have seen under the console. Let me open the console and show it to you. You see here, default suite, default test. Okay. All right. Now this is the XML file. How many tests are there? Only one test. And then we have not created any groups. We'll see it a little later. And then times is the execution duration of each method. It started, it took 17 milliseconds for the login method and 3 milliseconds for the login using credentials. Total execution time is 20 milliseconds. Then this is the reporter output. If you have anything that I wrote, where is that? I wrote some statements here, CISO statements, but these CISO statements are being printed on the console. But will the users of the application or will everyone be able to open Eclipse and see the console? No, right? When we run it via CI/CD pipelines or Jenkins or any other tools, we won't be able to open and see the console. We should see these statements in the report so that the user will be able to understand what happened here, right? So if you want to add some statements to the report, then you can use those output statements will be displayed here. Okay. Then we did not ignore any method, so that is why 0 ignored. And this is a chronological view. I mean the hierarchical order of execution. If I click here, you will see it. You see, before suite, before test, before class, before method, and then login, Then after method, before method, login using credentials, after method, after class, after test, and after suit. How is this happening? This is happening based on the XML hierarchy: suit, test, class. You see here, suit, test, class. And this before method and after method will be run for each method inside the class. So that is why you are seeing it two times: before method, after method, after method. And then we have to close this. So we have closed it. Understood? And here is the status. There are two methods. Two of them are passed. And then there are passed methods. If you want to see the list of passed methods, you can click on this show. It will show this. Login and login using credentials. Understood? So this is the HTML report that is generated out of TestNG. I did not do anything. By default, this format of report is given by TestNG. Okay. Now let us see the emailable report. Here is the emailable report. Open this also in the browser. You see here, this is the default test. There are two test cases. Two of them are passed. There are no skipped test cases. There are no retried test cases. There are no failed test cases. And the total execution time is 103 milliseconds. Blah blah. This is the default suit, default test, and then inside this class we have two methods: login and login using credentials. If I click here, it will take me to this place. If I have any statements printed out of this login, it will have here. If I click here, it will take me to this place. If I have any statements reported to the report, those will be displayed here. Understood? So at the end of the test cases execution, we will send a report to our team, right? That these many test cases are executed, these many are passed, these many are failed. So instead of you doing it manually, TestNG itself is giving an emailable report where it will give an overview of all the statuses. You can copy this and paste it in the email, or you can attach this report to the email and send it to them. It's up to us. How do you want to use it? Understand? So you understood the emailable report and the TestNG report. We don't have to do anything. If you create a TestNG class and then execute it, it will automatically generate it. When you run it, it will automatically generate it. To see the latest one, if you don't see this folder, just select the project and click refresh. You will see the test output. All right. One problem with this index.html, that is the HTML report and the emailable report, is we will not be able to store this automatically. If you run the second time, suppose I'm creating another method here just for a sample using creds. Okay. Now if I run this, it won't generate a new report. It will override this report and this report. Let me show you that. Execution is completed. Now let me refresh this. Do I see any new reports? There are no new reports. But if I go and refresh this page, now it is having only two methods, right? Login and login using cred. But if I refresh this, you see it. There are three methods, right? The emailable report also, it says 2, refresh it, you will see 3. Because TestNG will TestNG by default will not create separate reports for our storage. This will override a single report, that is index.html and emailable report.html. So whenever you execute a test case, it will override these reports automatically. Understand? So for this reason, we have to write our own code to store the HTML reports with our execution name. That we'll see later. We don't have to do it from scratch because we have some reports called as extend third-party library which is extend reports, most widely used in the market. So we'll use extend reports so that we'll be able to store the history of reports. All the reports, for all the executions, you can have a separate report and store. Okay. So you understood the reports, right? Fine. Let me open TestNG. We have seen the introduction already, all the introduction set. And then TestNG annotations, we have seen all the annotations execution, and the information about these annotations will be is already provided in the notes. We have seen the example showing the order of execution. Let us implement the add employee and then also implement using POI. Okay. Before doing that, let's see these scenarios. Having multiple at the rate of test, which one will be executed first? Okay, this we'll see after implementing these things. Okay, I have written in the process of scenarios so that it will be easy for you to understand. Okay, now let us see. Okay, we already saw the example for showing the order of the execution. Now let us implement the add employee normal class. And that means not using any page object model framework. We want to directly use the add employee functionality. Now let us create that so that you will understand how to write the methods. TestNG classes. Okay. Go new. Sorry, not this. I want a TestNG class, right? New TestNG, create TestNG class. And then here, I don't want all the annotations. I'll just use before class and then after class. That's all. Okay. This will be my underscore OHRM add employee underscore TestNG. TestNG. Finish. Now you see I have these methods. I have these three methods: before class, after class, and then test case. So this test case is login to Orange HRM. Okay. To log into Orange HRM, we need to open the browser, and all those things are common. So let me open a Selenium. So this is common. Okay, just paste it here. That's all. Nothing changes. There is no new thing that we are going to write. The same code, whatever we wrote in Selenium, we are using it here, but we are running it with the help of annotations. That's all. That is the only difference that we are doing here. Understood? That's all. So this is my login method, which is opening the browser, maximizing, and then entering the credentials and clicking on login. Okay. So before class, before entering into this class, this is a login method. So I don't want to do these operations in the login method. I want to do before coming or before starting the execution of this class. I want to open this browser and maximize it. So what I'm going to do is get inside the before class. But see, the driver is created inside this before class, but I want to use it inside this method. Right? So I have to pass the driver object to this class. Instead of passing the driver object to that method, what I'll say web driver, and here I'll say driver. So what am I doing? I know that before executing this class, this method will be executed. So when this method is executed, it will get the driver and assign to this driver variable. This driver variable is my class level variable. The same driver variable I'm using on the login. Okay. And after class, I want to close the browser. I want to log in and I want to close the browser. I'll say driver dot. Okay, so this is my execution. This is my scenario. What is my scenario? I want to log into the application and then close the browser. Okay, after logging in, if you want to have a verification or if you want to wait until the home page is displayed, then you can wait. You know, we already discussed, right? WebDriver wait, expected until expected conditions, visibility of the element, or all those things you can add here. Okay. Now let me run this class. See, it opened the browser, it went to that URL, logged in. See, how many tests are there here? Only one. That is login method, which is passed. And the default tests are one, failure 0, skip 0. Default suit is inside the suit, we have only one run, one is passed, 0 failures, 0 skips. And by default, TestNG does not provide any status for the precondition and post-condition methods, because as per the testing concepts, we will assign status only to the test steps, right? We will not assign the status to the prerequisites or the cleanup activities. So that is the reason by default TestNG does not assign any status to these before class and after class methods. TestNG will assign status only to the @test method. Okay, so that is why in the console you will see only login, which is the passed method. You don't see any status to the before class and after class, because they are precondition methods and post condition methods. Okay, all right. Now let us see here. You see the execution login method here, and if you go to the HTML report, I can just refresh it, because it is updating on the same file, right? You see login method. You can see the chronological view, before class, login, and after class. Why? Because there is no before suit, after suit, before test, after test methods. So that is why this is the chronological order: before class, login, and after class. That's all. Understood? So it is not mandatory to use all the annotations. Whatever based on our need, we are going to use these annotations: before class, before suit, or before test, based on the need, based on the purpose. If you have something that you have to implement or do something before starting the suit or before starting the test, then we add those methods. If you don't have anything, you can just simply write this: before class and after class. Understood? Any questions in this? No? All right. So can you do the same with the POM, or do you want me to do it? Can you apply the page object model to this? Hello. Fine. So that will be the task for you, because you don't have to do anything. You just have to call those methods inside this @test annotation. That's all. Rest all will be the same, right? We already have where are they? Yeah, these are the runner methods, like integration POF runner. You see, we have called this inside the main method, right? So similarly, these methods will call it inside the POF or @test annotation method. That's all. That is the only difference that we do. Okay, let me show it to you. I'll create a new class. It is this. Create new. Create a new TestNG class. I need a before class and after class. Oh, sorry, I did not change the name. This will be the underscore. All right. Now I have these methods. Since all the page locators and all the methods are already written in another packages, anyway, we are going to use those same page locators and all those things. So I'm not going to write all these things again. I will use the same classes which we wrote earlier. Okay. Before class, what we have to do before executing this class? Where is our runner? Open here, right? Before entering into the class, I want to okay, first I have to execute. I have to write this to the TestNG class as well, because if you want to access the methods without creation of object, I should be able to directly use them, right? So this is the method. Now I'll go to this POF runner. This one should be happening. I should open or I should launch the application before the execution starts or before the method starts. So that is why I'm having this launch method inside the before class. All right. And then this will be my login method. Okay. I'll take all these steps and paste it inside my, or this is not a login method. This will become add employee or add employee. That's all. That would be enough. Add employee. Okay. That's all. So since here we are not having any driver object, we cannot directly quit the application. So I'll go to this class and I'll create another method. Okay, this is a launch application method. So I'll say I'll create another method, public static void close application. Okay, so this is launch application and this is close application. So what do we do to close this application? We have to just kill this browser. So I'll use driver dot. That's all. And then where is our PO, this one, POF sample. And then here I'll call the close application method. You see, that's all. This is the PO and POF sample. Since we already have the foundations of page object model and page factory model, you have all the classes inside the page locators and runners. We also have the integration class. So I just use the implements or extends sorry, what is that? Yeah, inheritance concept. We have used the inheritance concept and got all the features of this integration class into this class, so that I'm able to I'm able to use all the methods of this classes. Right now we have everything here. Now if I run, you observe it. Run as TestNG test. Okay, something happened. There was something wrong, so that is why it is failed. Using link PIN. Unable to locate. Let me run this again. dot. Okay, let us give some wait time over here. Might be that is the reason it is. Okay, we did not have any implicit waits, right? So that is what is giving this error. So let me write driver dot manage dot timeouts dot implicitly wait. I want to wait for 30 seconds. This will be time unit dot seconds. Okay, and then we can also update driver dot manage dot timeout dot put a timeout. I'll make it 60. Remember these, right? Implicit waits. These are implicit waits. I'm adding to this driver. Okay. Let us go back to our class and then let us run this. If it is not running, then we'll see by debugging what's happening. Did I enter the wrong things? Enter username admin and password is also entering in the username itself. What password text box? You see here, for password text box also, we have added this as an example earlier to learn some of the other things, hierarchical and condition. We added this earlier, right? So that is why it is entering in the username itself. For password also, it is identifying the username. I don't want this, so I comment it out, and then I will write the rate of find by say id is equals to password. Double quotes. Right. Now let us go back and run it. Not this. This is the class. Now you will see the addition of employee successfully. Okay. Here I am. Add employee. That's all. You see, this is done successfully. One pass, one suit, and add employees passed. Now let's go and see here. There is one method which is add employee. It is successfully passed. And emailable report also, it will show the add. That's all. Okay. So this is what basic testing is. Now let us see the scenarios that I have written or designed for you. Okay, we have understood those things. Now see, scenario, having multiple iterate of test methods, which one will execute first? Which one will execute first? Let us see that. Now the same class, I'm going to divide into different methods. Okay, so first one, I'm going to create a test method, test public void login. Okay, I'm having a login method. So in that, I'll keep this. Okay, and then I'll create another at the rate of test method, test public void, and then navigate to PI. links inside this PIM. So now the same class has 3 at the rate of test methods, right? And the same class has 3 at the rate of test cases, one for login, one for navigating to the PIM, and the other one for adding the employee. So we have 3 test case methods. Now if I run, what will happen? It will fail. Why is it failing? You will understand when you see the report. Let's wait, it's still running. Since we added the implicit wait, it's taking 30 seconds time to find out the element, and then after 30 seconds, it will throw the exception. See, it won't move further from this place. I know why. I'll tell you. Since we added implicit wait, it will check for all the elements line one by one. Yeah. Now you see there is an exception which says unable to locate first name. First, we have to enter a username and then we have to navigate to PIM and then enter first name. But why is it directly finding out this first name? Okay, let us go and see the hierarchical chronological order of execution of this. Let us see this. You see, before class, after class, when we have multiple test methods, which method is getting executed first? Which method is executing? Is it executing login or is it executing add employee? It is executing add employee. Why? Since these 3 are test cases and we did not mention which one to execute first. So by default, TestNG will assume that, okay, at the rate of test means it's a test case, I have to execute. But it doesn't care which one to first and which one is depending on what. We have to give it the clear instructions, but we did not give that it is this has to be executed only when login is done. This has to be executed after completion of navigate to PIM. We just created 3 different test cases. TestNG is assuming that these 3 are independent test cases, not dependent on each other. So, and since we did not give any priority or any dependent linkages, so that is why it is executing these at the rate of test methods in the alphabetical order. If you see add employee, A is the first letter of alphabet. So that is why it is getting executed first. And then J, K, L, M, N. So L will come first. So after adding employee, it is trying to log in. And then after logging in, it is trying to navigate to PIM. Which will it happen? No, right? It has to be executing in a particular order. What is that order? First login, then navigate to PIM, then add employee. This is the order, but by default TestNG is executing in alphabetical order. So that is the reason when it is trying to execute the add employee, there is no first name field because we are stuck on the username screen or login screen. That is why it is failed. Understood? Is that clear? All right. So now what I do is to make this work successfully or to make this execute in the required order, we have to use the priority concept. The first thing is priority. Priority is equals to, by default, the priority for all the at the rate of test annotations is 0. By default, the priority for all the at the rate of test annotation methods is 0. Now, if I change the priority By default, this is having 0, this is having 0. Let us see. Okay, by default, we are assigning the same priority. Priority 0, priority 0, priority 0. Okay, now if I run this, you'll see the same issue again. Because all the 3 test methods has the same priority, it will execute in the alphabetical order. If you don't mention any priority, by default it will assume that the priority is 0. Why? Right. Okay. Now you see here, this is again failed because it tried to execute. Where is the execution order? Add employee first, then login and navigate to PM. After login, we can navigate to PM. So that is why these 2 methods are passed. Correct. I should complete it. So these 2 methods are working successfully, and then first it was trying to add employees, so it was failing. Since the priority is 0, it went with the alphabetical order. Okay, now I won't assign any priority to the login method because by default it will be 0, and then after logging in, navigate to PIM is my next priority, and then adding employee is my next priority. So this is by default 0. I did not assign any priority, so this will get executed first now because the priority of add employees 2. If you want to execute them not in the alphabetical order but in the required order, then you have to assign this priority to the test cases. Now let me run this. You will see the execute successfully. You see, everything is success and all the 3 methods are passed. You see, passes 3. You see the status, login, navigate to PIM and add employee. So you understood the concept of priority. Fine. So this is having multiple at the rate of test, which one will be executed first. So by default, each at the rate of test method is priority is considered as 0. So at the rate of test method will executed based on the alphabetical order of the method name. So based on the method name, it will execute in the alphabetical order. So that is the reason when we did not add any priority or when we have the priority same for all the methods, it was executing in the alphabetical order. But when I changed the priority to 0, 1 and 2, by default is 0, so that is why I did not write anything. So I changed the priority of this navigate to PM and add employee to 1 and 2. So it considered the priority and executed in the priority order, not the alphabetical order, but based on the priority. Okay, and then right, I have constraints that methods should be executed in that particular order. I don't want to execute them in the alphabetical order. I want to execute them in a particular order. So what should I do? I can, to arrange them, we can use these 2 things. One is to use priority or use dependency. We have already seen the priority concept. We have added the priority to the test methods and we have seen it. Let us see the dependency. Just in a while, we'll see it. Okay. By default, every test will have 0 priority. If you want to assign priority, we can do that by using the following syntax. This is the syntax for at the rate of test annotation. In the small braces, you have to use the keyword called priority and equals to after equals to you have to give your priority or execution order number other than 0 because by default it will be 0. You can also give 0, but it's waste of time because it already has priority 0. Okay, all right. Now let us see the other way of executing them in the required order, that is using dependency. Okay, now let us see that instead of having this priority, what I'll do is I'll just copy a separate, I'll create a separate class, same class, C3 class. This is not sample 2, let's say C4 OHRM POF, let's say depends on others. Okay, this is another class depends on. So here I don't want to use this priority. This is one case that we have already seen using priority. Now let us use depends on method. So if you see this, if I want to navigate to PIM, I should be logged in successfully, right? So that means this navigate to PIM method is depending on this login method. If I want to add employee, I should be on the PIM page, right? So that means this add employee is depending on this navigate to PIM, right? So that is the reason we will mention that, okay, this method is depending on the login. So first login should be executed. And we will also mention that, okay, add employee method is depending on the navigate to PIM. So navigate to PIM, after execution of navigate to PIM, you should execute. Okay. So to do that, again, we are adding attributes to the of test. So we use small tests. You have depends on methods is equals to on what method it is depending on login. You can just copy the name of the method and then mention in the rules. That's all. Right. This method is depending on navigate to PIM. So I'll just copy this here and then this is navigate to PIM. That's all. Now if I run this, I did not assign any priority to the methods. By default, the priority is 0. But since I mentioned the depends on methods, so when your testng comes and sees this, okay, it will understand, okay, this is depending on navigate to PIM. It will go to navigate to PIM and it sees that there is dependency for this method on login. So it goes to login and executes login first. Understood? Run this. This is the other way of executing the tests in the required order, the sequential order. Login, navigating to PIM, and then adding the employee. That's all. So did it execute in the required order? Let us see that. Login, navigate to PIM, and then add employee. Right? It executed in the required order. How it executed? Because of depends on method. Then why do we have two things, priority and depends on methods? What is the difference between using priority and using depends on methods? Right, you should get that question. What is the difference between using priority and depends on methods? If you won't ask, I won't say. Fine. You see, a depends on method will check the status of the previous method. If the previous method is passed, then it will execute. Otherwise, this method will be. For example, now let me fail this. Assert of testng dot assert but the boolean condition is false. I'm intentionally failing it. I'm checking whether it is true, but I'm passing false. Intentionally failing this method. Okay. Now that's what happens. Login method will be failed and the rest two methods will be skipped. Done. You see, one method failed and two methods skipped. What are the methods skipped? Let us see. Login is failed and then skipped navigate to PIM. Why it is skipped? Because it is depends on not successfully finished. You see this? Depends on not successfully finished methods. So login method is failed. This is depending on the login method. So if the login method is failed, this method is not executed. This will be skipped because we clearly mentioned to TestNG that this is being depending on the login method. If this is success, then only this navigate to PIM will be executed. And similarly, this add employee is depending on navigate to PIM. Navigate to PIM is depending on login. So there is interdependency between all these three methods. So since this is failed, this is skipped. Since this is skipped, this is also skipped. Understood? But if the priority is mentioned here for all these three methods, it won't check the status of the previous method. If the previous method is pass or fail, it doesn't care. It will execute the other methods based on the priority. That's all. It doesn't check the status of the previous. Is that clear? All right. Now there is another scenario where this is called hard dependency, where this is hard dependency because we are truly checking the status of the depends on method, and if the depends on method is failed, we are stopping execution of this method. And there is something called a soft dependency, that is always run is equal to true. If you add this property to this method, okay, if you add this property to this method, though this method is failed, it will execute. Okay, though this method is failed, it will execute. Now let me run this and show you. Earlier, when we ran, what happened? This is failed, so these two methods are skipped. Okay, now see, though this is failed, these methods will get executed because I said always run is equals to. Okay. See, it's navigating to PIM. Actually, it should fail, right? But it's not failing. You see, earlier there were two methods that are skipped, but now there are no methods that is skipped. Only one method is failed, and the rest two methods are passed. Because navigate to PIM is depending on login. Login is failed, but since it depends on, it should actually skip. But I added an extra property called always run is equals to true. So it ignored the status of the login method and made this method always run. Whether the previous method status is pass or fail, it is getting executed. And since this add employee is depending on navigate to PIM, this is passed, so this got executed. Now let us see the scenarios and see if we have anything else. Okay, so depends on methods. When using this, it will skip the method if the depends on methods is failed. If not, it will execute. Suppose I want to execute depending method even if the depends on method is not successful. I want to execute the depending method even if the depends on method is failed. What should I do? I have to add always run attribute is equals to true on the depending method, so that it will not check the status of the previous method or depends on method. Even though it is pass or fail, it will get executed. Understood? Any questions on this, Yanchi?
No, Nikhil, I'm good.
You understood all the execution order of annotations, priority concept, depends on methods concept, and always run, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's already 8:20. We have 10 more minutes left. So let us see the batch execution as well. This is pretty simple. XML file we'll do later, but we can execute batches also. So I'll show you how do we execute batches or how do we create XML. How do we create XML files? We'll see tomorrow. Okay. Now I have, you see here, I have multiple classes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then annotation execution. If I want to execute all of them, do I have any way? I should go into each class and then execute by right clicking on it, right? Run as. But I want to run all of them at once. So what should I do? You can simply go to this package, right click on the package, and then run as test-ng test. It will run all the classes of this package. See, it started execution. You're seeing it, right?
Yes.
So that is one way. But even this is also not useful for us because in real time, we are not going to sit in front of the system and click each of the package. We are not going to have all the execution classes in a single package, right? In the real time, it will be in multiple packages. Like you see here itself, we have written multiple packages. So will you sit there and execute each package one by one? No, right? So that is the reason test-ng is providing XML file for us. So we'll use the XML file and do this execution, batch execution. Okay. In batch execution, we can run multiple classes. In batch execution, we can run multiple packages. In batch execution, we can run multiple suites. So we have different things that we can do that we'll see. Okay. You see how many tests run? 11. How many pass? 10. How many fail? 1. Right? Now let us see all the execution order. You see here 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Total 5 classes. We have 5 classes, right? Depends on method. There is one login method which is having issue, that is expecting assert statement. We did it intentionally, right? So that is what is fair. And rest all are passed, executed and passed. If you want to see the hierarchical order or chronological view, you can just go to this HTML and refresh. You will see this passed methods. You see this? Right? Before class and after class. Observe the before class and after class. It is getting executed for each class. Before class and then after class. And the second class started depends on method. So before class, after class. And PO and POF sample is another class. So before class, after class. And there is no annotations. I mean, I did not create any before class, after class for this class. So it is not executing here. And then for this also, before class, after class. And after the complete execution of all the classes, you have after test and after suit. Because the XML file looks like this. Understood? All the classes are automatically added here. I did not add anything. This is a temporary XML file, you see? Temp. Okay? So is that clear? How do we perform batch
Yes.
execution? So the similar XML file, we are going to create and write our own classes there and perform the batch execution. That we'll see in our next session, which is on Monday. I mean, our Monday, your Sunday night. Okay. Any questions, Shyamji? Is it clear or fast?
No, I'm good, Nikhil. Thank you.
Bye bye. Have a great sleep.
Okay, bye. Good weekend.